let's have a game of like how many times I said PetiteKnit in a 2-minute segment. It's probably a lot. Really, I feel like I need to call this episode not Sleep Island, but Sleep Continent, because you're gonna see a recurring theme here of sweaters with no sleeves. I don't really know how we got here. I just know that we're here. Hey guys, it's Nizzy here, and welcome back to my channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, today is going to be a knitting podcast, and I am super excited for it. I know that I have posted a couple of knitting podcasts in the past, and I don't know, there was a lot going on. Like, I moved, I started a new job, working from home. I got excited. I thought, like, this is the time. Finally, I'm going to be able to come out and put out my podcast episodes and like do my YouTube, and I was super excited. But then I started to get very discouraged in myself and my knitting, and in the quality. Like, nothing was good enough for me, and nothing was good enough for the channel. I wasn't really happy with what I was putting out, and so I kind of let that go to my head, and so I discouraged myself from posting and continuing on the channel. And there was just like a point where I realized, and I was like, Shania, this is your channel, this is your knits. You can do what you like, when you like, as you please, and like the only person putting pressure on anything is you. And so I decided that I wanted to start fresh and just restart. And so that's what I'm doing. Like, I think the beautiful thing about life, and the beautiful thing about, like, you know, social media and things like YouTube and Instagram is that you can just like start over, and you can do a hard reset, and you can begin again. Like, you don't have to, like, I don't know, it doesn't have to be this whole big thing that we make it to be sometimes. And so I'm super happy and excited to come back to you guys for another video. And yeah, I don't want to talk too much about it because I do have quite a bit of knitting to speak about. And yeah, I don't know why, but my voice has been fighting me this morning. It's probably because I recorded this video yesterday, and I decided that it would be best for me to re-record it today in the morning time where I have a lot more sunlight. And then also I went to church yesterday, and I was like singing and doing all this other stuff, and so my voice is like fighting me right now. So sorry about, you know, that, but yeah, I don't want to talk too much in the intro because I do have a lot of knitting to talk about. So I'm going to drink. I'm sorry, y'all. You guys are gonna have to bear with me with the lighting today because the Florida sun is wanting to do whatever it wants to do. And so the lighting is gonna kind of be weird as the clouds come past. But yeah, hopefully you guys will bear with me with that. But yeah, I'm gonna take a drink of water and then we'll start. The first thing that I'm gonna show you guys is my finished objects. And I only have one finished object to show you guys. I do have a couple other projects that I finished over the course of the past couple months. However, they're just like a lot of little small projects, one-off socks and things like that. And I just didn't feel like trying to dig around and find all of those little projects. And so I decided that I would just come and show you guys the one big project that I am proud of, and one that I wear all the time. And that project is my Chestnut sweater by PetiteKnit. This is a drop shoulder construction sweater, oversized, and I knit this in the size large. And it is right here. I have it in this beautiful yellow color. Yeah, she is a big one, I knit this in Drops Nepal, and this is in the color 2923, also known as Goldenrod, and I am absolutely obsessed with this color. I think this color is beautiful. So like I said, I did this in the size large, and I did do a couple modifications on it. The first modification being that this is not the turtleneck edition. When I originally did the collar, I don't know how I did this, but I accidentally did the collar like full stockinette. Like I did the entire collar stockinette. And when I went to like roll it down, one, it was very stiff because it was on smaller needles, and two, it like I couldn't put my finger on what was wrong with it and why I didn't like it. Fast forward, I realized that I had done it in stockinette and not in ribbing, so that was number one. And so when I went back, I ripped it out and I redid the collar, and I just at the time, I was just like in my stockinette girly era. Like I just wanted to do stockinette. Ribbing just felt very tedious for me and very annoying, and so I had just done like this a mile tube of stockinette for this collar that I ripped out, and I couldn't bring myself to like work on this collar any more than like I really needed to, and so I opted to just do a couple inches and then fold it down, and it has worked out for me. Another modification that I've made on this, which I do to most of my sweater patterns, is that I did add a couple extra inches to my sweater. Hello, sun. I am so sorry for all this like weird lighting issues. Hopefully you guys can just like bear with the sun coming in and out. But I did add a couple extra inches to the sleeve, which I have to do to most of my sleeves. I have a very, 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 very long arm. As you guys can see, I am 5'10" and I have long arms, long torso, long legs. And so most sweater pattern length is not enough, and I usually will find myself with like a very like high sleeve. And so I did add a couple extra inches. I think I might have added, oh yeah, I did do the decreases. So I did add a couple extra decreases on each of the arm, and then I also added extra ribbing length as well. And I just added the extra rib length because in the pattern, I believe PetiteKnit has the arm ribbing a little bit shorter than the body ribbing. And so I decided to do the cuff ribbing the same length as the body ribbing. One, to give it an overall just more uniform look, even though I don't think you would have noticed, but also to give myself just a little bit of extra length because I do have an issue with, my sleeve lengths. And also I noticed that as you block, or when you block your sweaters over time, I feel like the sleeve kind of like starts to shrink back in more. And so I wanted to give myself more than enough room that even if over time, the cuff started to come up a little bit more, that I would still be fully covered. So there is that. And then lastly, I'm going to talk about my mistakes on this sweater, and then I'll actually try it on so you guys can see what it looks like. But I did make a couple of mistakes, and that is in my picking up of my stitches. As you guys can see here, there is this like line, and it's on both sides. I was very consistent in the way that I made this mistake, which kind of worked out for me, but I wasn't quite sure how to pick up stitches properly. I have since learned how to pick up stitches properly, but at the time I was very confused on like what part of the stitch to pick up, and so it left me with these little it's like a line on each of the shoulders, which I actually don't mind because they are on both sides of the sweater, and so when I wear it, it just kind of looks like a style choice, or like it just looks like the design of the sweater, and you can't really tell. I'm sure that if someone else knit it or if they make the pattern, then they would know that it is, a mistake. But most people, most times that I'm wearing it, no one's like zoning in on that part of it, and if they are, they don't know that it's a mistake, and so I'm fine with it. Yeah, I don't care enough to go back and fix it. And I kind of had a similar issue on the collar of like this is supposed to be like a nice smooth line, but the way that I picked up my stitches kind of left it with like bumps instead. And again, just not really sure what part of the stitch to pick up, but I was picking up stitches for the collar. I think again that it is fine, and when I'm wearing it, like, it just looks like that's how the sweater is supposed to be. And so yeah, that is that, and I'm going to try it on now. Like I said, I did do the size large in this, and I didn't gauge swatch, so I don't know if my sweater hit gauge. I'm pretty sure it didn't, just by how much positive ease I have in this, but it worked out for me and what I wanted in a sweater. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm gonna stand up now so you guys can see. So yeah, it is definitely oversized, and the it does have a split hem, and the front hem is lower than the back, which is really nice. I haven't tucked this sweater yet, like tucked it in for like any good style or anything, but I definitely could if I wanted to. And yeah, if you guys can see, this has a lot of positive ease, like a lot of positive ease. But yeah, I actually love it though. This is sorry, all the wheels like rolling around. This is my most worn sweater. I literally wear this sweater all the time, and I love it. I didn't put any elastic in the collar, so the collar is stretched out quite a bit. So that is something that I definitely need to do in the future, is put elastic in there, because the neck is stretching out quite a bit, and I don't foresee it stretching out any more than it already has. So, you know, that is good. I don't think it's going to stretch out anymore, but I think that sometimes when I wear it, as you can see, you can kind of like see my like straps of my shirt underneath it, and so I would like to cinch that in a little bit more. So that is that. My final note on this sweater is not on the pattern itself, but it is on the yarn that I used. Like I said, I used the Drops Nepal, which is 65% wool, 35% alpaca, and I like Drops for its affordability. However, I do notice that it pills like a lot, and let me see if I can like show you guys. Here's the best. Yeah, so if you see that, it like peels quite a bit, especially under like the arm area where it is, you know, if you guys, oh yeah, you guys can kind of see, especially under the armpit area where there's a lot of, you know, rubbing and friction. But even like at the bottom here, even at like the bottom here, you can see it's peeling quite a bit, and it doesn't like just peel like subtly, like it is like peeling to the point where anytime that I want to wear the sweater, I have to shave it. Now granted, when I'm wearing this around the house, if I'm just throwing it on to run to like the store or run errands or whatever it is, I don't peel it. I mean, I don't shave it because I'm just throwing it on. But anytime that I want to wear it to like church or to a function or an outing, wear it out to dinner, I want to wear it with an outfit, I do have to peel it. I do have to shave it, sorry. And so that's a little bit annoying. Even like if I shave it and like it looks completely nice, by the time that I get home, I notice that it's already starting to peel again in the same areas. Yeah, that's the only thing about the Drops Nepal that peels a lot. I would definitely make this pattern again, although I think next time around I will use definitely a different yarn. So yeah, that is my chestnut sweater. I feel like I talked a lot about that one sweater. We are 17 minutes in and I've talked about one object, but yeah, that is my only finished object for today's video, and we're gonna go right into whips because I have quite a lot to say about these whips as well. So the very first whip that I have to show you is my whip that's been on my needles the longest, and it is also a PetiteKnit pattern, and sorry, I have like ends everywhere. And that is my Ingrid Sweater Junior by PetiteKnit. And I absolutely love the Ingrid. It is absolutely addicting to knit. I believe I knit this in about a week or so. Um, and it is just an addictive knit. I actually bought the pattern in the junior size as well as the adult size so that me and my 5-year-old we could match. And so yeah, I haven't made mine yet, and as you guys can see, his is still in the works as well. And this is also a drop shoulder pattern, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's drop shoulder textured knits. It looks more complicated than it is. It's a series of just knits and purls, increases and decreases, and yarn overs. Like, it is a very easy pattern that looks complicated, which I absolutely love. This has been on my needles almost a year. I believe I started this back in September or October of last year, and I kind of lost steam for it for a couple different reasons. Reason number one being last year my son was 4, and this is size 5 to 6, and I did a 5 to 6 because size 3 to 4 just seemed like it was gonna fit him now, or at the time now, but I didn't believe that it was gonna be something that he could wear for a long time, and so I didn't want to knit him something that he was only gonna wear for like a month, 2 months, 4 months. So I decided to do a size 5 to 6. And when I tried it on him at the time, I mean, it was an absolute dress on him. I almost like regretted doing the size, and I was like, maybe I overestimated how big he actually is. But fast forward a year later, I actually tried this on him a couple weeks ago, maybe like 2 weeks ago, and it's still like slightly large, and this is before even blocking. So I really feel that by the time that it gets cold here in Florida, by like December, January maybe, because sometimes in December it's still hot. We have 85-degree winters and Christmases, so I'm sure that by like January, February, it'll be fitting perfectly and like not too oversized. And so yeah, I'm really happy with the size that I have now. Now, the reason why I stopped knitting on this is for a couple reasons. One, I had a deadline to have him wear this for his pre-K pictures last year, and I wanted him to like have a hand knit sweater every year so that you could like see all his pictures growing like as he grew. But one, the deadline passed, like his pictures came and went. Two, even if I would have finished it, it would have just been huge on him, and it just would not have looked as good as I wanted it to look. So I decided just to hold off on it. And then thirdly, I got a yarn tangle. This is the yarn that I'm using, which I didn't even mention, by the way. And this, I don't have the pack. I don't have the yarn label for it anymore. I threw it away. But it is the Yarn B yarn ID in the color Oats. And I bought this from Hobby Lobby. And I don't remember the composition. I'll have to put it like somewhere on the screen. But I believe it's just acrylic. 100% acrylic. Or acrylic and something else. But mostly acrylic. It is really, really soft. And it doesn't have that like acrylic-y feel. But the reason why I chose to knit it out of this is because it is a nice sweater and I want him to wear it and, you know, like have it. But at the same time, he is 5 now, at the time 4, and he's a little bit messy. He's a messy boy. He likes to eat, and he is not the cleanest eater. And so I wanted something that was nice and was thick and would hold up and was good quality, but also was something that I could wash. Not just hand wash, but like if I needed to, I could throw it in the washing machine. And so what happened was I ended up having this massive yarn tangle, and I just couldn't for the life of me sit down to detangle this. I decided that I would just buy new yarn for it, and I just never got around to going to the yarn store to buy another ball of yarn. I needed to get another ball of yarn anyway to finish the other sleeve, because this is all of the yarn that I had left from that skein. So I now have the yarn to continue it, which is why it is now going to come out of hibernation. So I'm going to end up cutting this ball off and then continuing on. And yeah, I really don't have that much to go on the sweater, and I just need to get a move on it. And so yeah, currently it is on Sleep Island, and yeah, I really hope that by next podcast episode that it will be finished. I think it's about time that I come back and get some texture again, and maybe this might motivate me to go ahead and start on my Ingrid as well, because every time I hold this up, I'm just like, oh my goodness, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I also want to do the Moby as well. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I feel when I first started knitting, there were so many people that did so many petite knit patterns, and I'm like, all you ever hear about is petite knit, petite knit, petite knit, petite knit. And don't get me wrong, like, now from when I first started knitting till now, like, there's so many more knitwear designers that people just like rave about. Petite knit, like, I didn't want to be a petite knit girly, but here I am a petite knit girly because like all of her patterns are just and they just grow on you too. Like, every time I say like, oh, I like this pattern but I'm not gonna make it, like the Moby, I want to make it. The Storm, at first I was like, I like it but not for me, and now I want to make a Storm. Like the Cloud, like sweater and the Cloud top, oh my goodness, so many patterns for petite knit, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I need to get a move on this before I even think about doing anything else petite knit. So I say that as I have another petite knit on the needles, but anyways, yeah, that is my Ingrid sweater Junior by PetiteKnit. Let's have a game of like how many times I said petite knit in a 2-minute segment. It was probably a lot. But yeah, that is my longest standing. My next whip that I have to show you guys is my Paul sweater by Morecaknit. And okay, so this is my Paul sweater by Morecaknit. And yeah, as you guys can see, this is another sweater that is on Sleep Island. Really, I feel like I need to call this episode not Sleep Island, but Sleep Continent, because you're gonna see a recurring theme here of sweaters with no sleeves. I don't really know how we got here. I just know that we're here, and I guess the best way I can explain any of this is just to kind of start from the beginning. So yes, this is the Paul sweater by Morecaknit, and I'm doing this in the size extra large. And that is just a saddle shoulder V-neck sweater. And yeah, I have never done a saddle shoulder before, so this is my first time doing a saddle shoulder. It's also my first time doing a V-neck as well. So yeah, it was very, very interesting. My V-neck is not the neatest, and honestly I feel like a lot of that will come out in blocking. And I actually didn't grab the yarn off my yarn walls. And I'm knitting this out of Drops Baby Merino. And this is in the color 46, also known as Rose. And this is in the Drops Kid Silk in the color 46 as well. And it is called Cherry Sorbet. Yeah, so these two colors together make this. It was my first time ever working with the Drops Baby Merino, and also my first time working with Drops Kid Silk ever, which was super exciting for me because I have been so excited to try mohair. And I don't know if I'm necessarily a mohair girly, at least based on this sweater, because I do have another sweater that I've used mohair with that is like super soft. So I think maybe it might just be this particular yarn combination, but this sweater is a little bit itchy to me, so this is not one that I will be wearing next to skin. Now, I don't know how it will block out, so it very well could block out and be less itchy or non-itchy after blocking. But as of now, like whenever I try it on, it is a little bit itchy, so it's not something that I would necessarily want to wear right next to skin. So I'll probably will wear something underneath it. Now this pattern is actually, it's not bad. I don't mind the way that she wrote her knitting pattern, but I had a couple issues with the pattern, which is why I am on Sleep Island on this one. So the entire pattern was pretty fine. Like, as you can see, I knit the whole thing. I knit the body, I did the saddle shoulders. My saddle shoulders aren't perfect, especially right here in the back. It's a little bit wonky back here, but you know, I'm just hoping that it blocks out somewhat good. I don't know, I think it's fine. My whole issue was in the saddle shoulder. So now that I've been knitting for quite a while, a lot of my knits have been very basic and I haven't really challenged myself. And so coming into this new year, I wanted to challenge myself with different constructions, with color work, with different things, and to kind of step away from the raglan and to really try to start finding knits that I like to wear and knits that I like on my body. And so I've tried the drop shoulder, which I absolutely loved. And so my next step was to try a saddle shoulder because the detail always looks so pretty on like pictures and stuff. But as it stands right now, I think that this will be my last saddle shoulder for a while. Or at least I would like to try to do a saddle shoulder on like a bigger gauge because I had a lot of issues. So as you guys can see, like there's stitches on hold because you make these like squares and then you pick up stitches, you know, different stitches around it. So when you come to do the sleeve, you like come back and you pick up stitches for on the saddle, and then you also like, you know, pick up the stitches around, and then you do shaping to, I don't know, you do shaping for it. And for some reason, I had a really hard time picking up the stitches for the sleeve. It took me like 3 times to pick up the right amount of stitches, even following her like pickup rate. I just found it difficult to get the right amount of stitches. And the problem with picking up stitches is that once like this is a provisional cast on, so once I like take the provisional cast on off and I pick up the stitches for this, the stitches are live. And so like it wasn't just a matter of ripping out all the work and re-picking up the stitches, but I had to rip out the stitches that I picked up, but like be sure to keep the stitches from the saddle shoulder on the cord, which wasn't like the most difficult, but then like the shaping didn't make sense to me. Like I reread the instructions like 5-6 times and I did not understand the shaping, and the numbers were not adding up to me. Like they just were not working for me. And then like I took some days off of it, came back to it, still wasn't making sense to me, still wasn't like computing. So finally I decided to just start, and I didn't want to have to frog any of it because I already was having trouble to pick up the correct amount of stitches, and then to now have to frog and start over. Like I would have to pick up the stitches. Like it just was like a lot. It was a lot. And I just was not, excuse me, I was not excited about doing that. And so I like tried to take my time, do all the shaping, and now I'm not even confident that I did the shaping right. And I say that because I'm going to actually try this on now so you guys can see. The shaping right here is very weird on the sweater. And I'm having a lot of bulging under the arm. And I don't know if it's the way that she has us pick up the stitches on the underarm part, which actually I quite loved. I was before having issues where I always have to go back and like kind of sew up a little hole in the armpit because there was always like a little tiny hole. The way that she has us pick up stitches for the armpit made a completely seamless, like no hole, which I have never had happen for me. So I was very excited of the method that she had us do for the armhole, and I was like super excited to implement that into other knits. But when I wear it, and let me put it on instead of talking to you guys about wearing it. When I wear the sweater, which isn't it cute though? Isn't it cute? It's so cute. But okay, so when I wear it, if you guys can see, let me give me a second. Okay, when I wear it, you can just see fabric just kind of like bunches right here. Like it just kind of bunches right here. And I don't really know why it's bunting. And part of me thinks that like when I block it out, that, you know, when I block out the sleeve or whatever, that it will like kind of relax. And that's what I'm hoping. But as of now, it just has like just all of this fabric right here. And I'm just not quite sure what to do about that. I mean, the sweater itself is absolutely beautiful, but just the shaping, the way it fits, the gauge. I gotta talk about the gauge on this one too. So I'm not even sure what the original needle size is. I think size 4, US 4, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm knitting this on US 3 because that is how I got gauge with the yarn that I have. So I've been knitting this entire sweater on a 3mm needle, which has taken quite a long time to do. And honestly, like just the gauge of it, the fit issues, the shaping, just it sucked the love that I had out of this sweater. And also not to mention that I had wanted to start another sweater like very soon after I was like knitting the body, and I was just in miles of stockinette on 3mm needles, and I was like craving a project on bigger needles. I was craving like a break, but I kind of forced myself to knit on this because I was very excited to have this as a finished sweater, but also I just like I didn't want to put this sweater down and then not work on it. And so I like forced myself to just knit on it, and I finished the body, and I was like very proud of myself. But I didn't want to be stuck on Sleep Island, which here we are on Sleep Island. But I didn't want to be stuck on Sleep Island, so I went ahead and like forced myself to go ahead and pick up the stitches and just knock it out. And even after like having those issues of figuring out the shaping and picking up the stitches, like I was so over knitting it, but I like made myself do it because I knew that if I didn't do it, I would just stop knitting it all together. And once I like got through the shaping and I was just like doing my decreases and doing my sleeve, it like flew by. I had no issue. It was fine, right? But as soon as I finished knitting the sleeve, I just couldn't bring myself to knit and to pick up the next sleeves on it. And so this is probably sat for the last like 2 months or so, 3 months or so. And I would not let myself knit because I was like, if you want to knit on the ball sweater. And guess who didn't want to pick up those stitches? Me. So I didn't knit on anything. And it just became this very like weird like situation with me and my knitting. And finally I was like, you know what, like I'm not gonna sit here and not knit and force myself to not knit because of a sweater. Like I will come back to it. Plus it is scorching hot here in Florida and I'm knitting a mohair sweater. And when it was smaller it was fine, but now that it's like just in my lap, like, and it's just a whole sweater, I just I didn't want to do that. And so finally I stopped being hard on myself and I put it aside and I started on new projects. But yeah, this is definitely something that I need to finish, and it's something that I want to finish because I really do feel like blocking might transform this. It might transform the scratchiness and the way it feels on skin, and it will probably transform the shaping and how it is. But I just haven't brought myself to be exactly excited about this knit because it is knit because it's knit on such a tight gauge and it's so close to the skin using the mohair. I do think that this is gonna be a sweater that is definitely reserved for the colder months here in Florida. So I do have quite a bit of time before it is like I can wear it, even if I do finish it. But I really want to try to give myself maybe a deadline of finishing this before December. So sometime before December. It's only July, so I have August, September, October, November. So I have 4 months to finish this. So this is not anything that is like super urgent, but I do want to get this off my needles and fully finished and at least give it a chance before I, toss it to the wayside. So, yeah, one of these days I'm gonna just sit and pick up. I think that's what I'll do is I'll just sit and like pick up the stitches and do the shaping and like just knock that out one of these days and just leave it. And then at some point over the next 4 months, I can just come through and knit the sleeve, whenever I have the time. Because knitting the sleeve wasn't the hard part. That flew by. It was only the picking up all the stitches and the shaping that was not fun for me. So yeah, I need to get a move on this because it is a very, very pretty sweater. It is beautiful, and I just need to find the time, the patience, and the courage to take it up again. So yeah, that is my Paul sweater by Morecaknit, and yeah, that is that. Now, the next sweater that I started on, and I'm like laughing as I show you guys because it's a theme. It's a theme. I know it's a theme. So here is another sweater with the left sleeve done and the right sleeve on hold. And yeah, this is the glitch sweater by Lowkey.Bold.Knit, and I am making this in the size extra large. And I did the extra large because my gauge was smaller than recommended. So I sized up. This is a glitch sweater, and this was my first colored sweater, my first circular yoke sweater. And yeah, I'm super, super excited. Like, I have dipped my toes in color work. It's only stripes, so this is very, 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 like, first starting color work project. But I thought that this project would be really nice to, like, you know, get into it, and I really do like the pattern. First, I'm going to talk about the yarn, which I also did not get off of my yarn shop. So give me a second. So the yarn that I'm using is Drops Lima, and this is my first time using Drops Lima, and it's essentially the same construction, 65% wool, 35% alpaca as the Drops Nepal. It's just in, it has a smaller, it's smaller yarn, thinner yarn for a smaller needle. But I'm using Drops Lima in the color 9031, which is pistachio, and Drops Lima in the color 0206, which is the color wheat. And I'm actually not the happiest with the color choice that I made with this. The wheat color came out pretty much kind of how I thought it was going to come out, but I thought that the pistachio would have more of like a greener look, and it does look more like greeny than it's coming up on camera. Let me see if I can try to show you guys. Kind of. You guys can kind of see, but like compared right next to the wheat, it kind of takes away the contrast, which sucks, honestly. And so it gives this like very low contrast sweater. And yeah, I really wish that the contrast was higher, but I think that this is fine because I definitely needed more muted colors. I feel like I have this bright yellow and I have this bright pink, and so my goal was to have like a nice, more like neutral muted. I just didn't expect the contrast to be as low. And so because the contrast is so low, I do have a couple, it's not issues with the pattern, it's issues with, I do have a couple issues with the pattern, but issues with how it looks. So one of the design features on here is this like line down the back, which basically like it's supposed, it makes like this really nice like glitch. And I'll have posted a picture up somewhere on the video so you guys can see what that line is supposed to look like. But because the colors are so close together, it doesn't give the same effect as in the sample photo. And the same thing goes for like the collar. The collar and the cuff is supposed to have like this really cool like glitched like style, and the same thing on the cuffs. It has this like really cool like the way that the colors like play on each other, but because the contrast is so low, it kind of renders it useless almost, and like it just doesn't give the effect that the pattern creator like originally called for. And that's no fault of the pattern, it's the fault of me and my color choices. Also, additionally, this like line is created through a slip stitch, and this is where I start getting into issues with the pattern. So it has a slip stitch. It doesn't tell you what tension to do these slip stitches on. So from the very beginning, I found that my tension was like very tight, very loose, very tight, very loose, and it looked kind of wonky. And so like at the beginning, I started noticing like that little slip stitch where you do the color change for the little glitch thing down the back was wonky. And so I had to like fix my tension on the body, which honestly is not like perfect, but I don't think that it is that much of an issue. My real issue comes on the sleeve, and I don't know if I read it wrong or if it's just how the pattern is, but for the sleeve, I also did the slip stitch seam color change thing on the sleeve. But my problem with that is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but it caused the sleeve to like, this has a curve in it. And because it has a curve in it, it fits very weirdly. Let me try this on so I can tell you guys, so I can show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so here is the sweater, and I actually love the pattern. I like the way that it's shaped. I think that the fit of it is actually beautifully done, and I don't have any rules with the pattern sizing and how it is, and I definitely want to make another one of these with higher contrast. But the only thing that I'd have to figure out is this sleeve situation, because yeah, so if you guys see here, the sleeve like comes down lower on one side than the other because it starts trying to do this like curve right here because of the slip stitch sleeve that I have right here. Now I have stretched it quite a bit, and it seems like it will like stretch out and it'll like block fine. This is another one of those ones that I think that blocking will definitely help it. And you guys can kind of see like right here at the bottom, it's kind of scrunched up a little bit where that little middle seam is right there. So yeah, this is one of those ones that I'm hoping to block out, but I really don't know. And so yeah, this like fit issue made me lose my steam on this because I knit this in a week and a half, and so it literally flew off the needles, and I could have had a sweater probably like in a full like 2 weeks, had the sweater done. But once I finished the sleeve and I saw the fit issue, I just couldn't continue on, and I'm seeing that is pretty much like a recurring theme for me and my knits recently. Is like if I see that there's a fit issue, then it really like zaps my steam for the project, where it's like you get so excited because you're like going through because you want to have a spinner sweater that you want to wear and have, but then it's like once you see that the fit is like wonky, you're gonna have to figure some stuff out, then it starts to like dwindle my my motivation for it. But granted, like I said, I think with the Paul sweater and also with this sweater, it's definitely going to be something that has to just be aggressively blocked. And I mean, I really do have confidence in the blocking process. So it wasn't even just fully the fit issues that have kind of messed with my head a little bit as far as knitting this goes. What has really irritated me about this knitting this is that this is colorwork stripes, and so we're switching colors every 2 rows. And for the body it was fine because I'm on a large circular and you know I'm knitting and it's fine, and I found a way to do my yarn that is cool, like, you know. But for my sleeves, I do all my sleeves on magic loop. I love a magic loop sleeve. I'm excited to get some small circulars to see if I'll like knitting them in the round. I probably will. Who doesn't like the round? But I really do like the sleeve knitting on magic loop, and I just feel like it flies by so fast. And so I knitted my sleeve on magic loop as I always do. But the problem with magic loop is that like there was a lot of like turning of the work, because you're doing one side of magic loop and you gotta turn it and you do another side, and like just the way that I was twisting it, the yarn just kept getting wrapped around each other. And no matter how I held the yarn, no matter where I placed the yarn at, like, it just kept getting tangled. And so what I'd have to do is I would do like one round and then I have to detangle. And then it got to the point where like every half round I'm having to detangle the yarn because it got all over each other. And then that was when I was doing the stripes. When I reached this colorwork cuff has so much going on. Like, it's not complicated at all, but it is a lot of like color switching. When I got to the colorwork cuff, over it, like completely over it. I finished it and I was like, okay, cool, I'm done. And I would have sucked it up and finished it because the sleeve took me like one day to do. Like one day. I did it in like one sitting of a couple hours, right? And so I was like, I'm just gonna like suck it up and do the other sleeve because literally like all I have is one sleeve left and the sweater is done. But once I tried it on, I saw the fit issues that I was gonna have to figure out in blocking, and I just thought about fighting with the yarn again for something that's not even like fitting right. Like, it wasn't something that I could do. So I set it aside and I decided that I needed a break from this one as well. Like, I did this one to get a break from my paw, and I was like, I need a break from this too. So here we are with another sweater with only one sleeve. And yeah, I'm not even sad about it. Like, it is what it is. However, now that I'm like in front of the camera and I'm talking to you guys about it, I feel a heavy feeling of accountability now as I look at all these abandoned whips that need sleeves, and I'm like, sleeves are the fast part. Sleeves are the easy part. Like, do the sleeves, Shania. So I have a feeling that next podcast is going to be very finished object heavy because I may or may not have been motivated seeing all of this to just go through and do these sleeves. But alas, on to the next whip. So the next whip I have is not much to see, but I am making a Holger sweater for my son, and I'm doing the Holger in size 5 to 6. This is another pattern by PetiteKnit, and I don't really have that much to show you guys. I have joined in the round, and I literally have like the tiniest bit of progress underneath the arms to go, but this is just another drop shoulder pattern by PetiteKnit. It is a striped pattern, but I decided just to knit it as just, you know, plain, because I don't have this yarn in another color, and I just think that a plain, like nice, like tan neutral drop shoulder sweater would be good for my son to have in his wardrobe as well. If this yarn looks kind of familiar, it would be because this is actually the same yarn, the Yarn B Yarn ID in the color Oats, that I'm making the Ingrid sweater out of. I think the color looks really good on him, and when it comes to a like nice neutral color that my son can throw on, that I can just wash like an everyday sweater, I don't feel like the Ingrid is an everyday sweater, but I really do feel like the Holger can be. So I am doing that, and I am proud to say that, if you guys can see here, the way that I pick up my stitches is better now. It is now a seamless transition, and yeah, I feel like once it's blocked, it will look really good. But yeah, I don't really have that much to say on this. This is just kind of a project that I started to work on, and I need to finish it. I don't really have any rush on this one. This is one that I started in between projects because I do have a sweater idea for my son that I want to do, but I was waiting for my yarn to come in the mail. So this was just kind of one that I could just like start, knit on. Now that I'm in the round, I can just knit on stockinette for a while. And yeah, there's no pressure on this. So yeah, this is just gonna be like my little project, and it's small enough that I can like take it around to other places. I find that once my sweater gets to a certain point, it's very hard for me to carry it around for like, you know, restaurant knitting, movie knitting, going to a friend's house. Sometimes I can take my bigger sweaters, but I don't always want to lug around a big sweater. So having like a little tiny baby sweater with just stockinette, nothing to think about, is nice for me because yeah, I can just throw it in the bag. So this is just like a project that I'm going to work on here and there. Although it is a baby sweater. He's not a baby, he's 5. But this is a kid sweater, so I don't foresee this being on the needles for very long either. So that is that whip, and now I have one final whip, and this whip is actually the reason why the Holger sweater is not finished, because I actually applied for a test knit for WeMadeWardrobe, and I got accepted into the test knit, and so I have been knitting on that exclusively for the past week. Yeah, so this sweater is in testing, and it is called the Maja sweater. Like I said, by WeMadeWardrobe, and I am doing the size extra large. And this sweater has quickly become my baby, and I feel real bad for the Chestnut sweater because I feel like this is going to be another one of those sweaters that like I just can't get enough of. And so without saying too much, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you guys. So this is my Maja sweater, and it is another oversized drop shoulder sweater, although this time it is a v-neck. And yeah, I really love the way that the v-neck looks. Since doing the Paul sweater collar, I've been looking into doing a v-neck sweater, but the Paul sweater is very close to skin, and so I've been looking for a pattern that is v-neck, that is oversized, and I just haven't gotten around to actually doing one because I was very specific about a gauge that I wanted. I didn't want one that was like too chunky, but I also didn't want one that was on a small needle, like a 4mm. So when WeMadeWardrobe put out this test knit call, I was very happy to see that it was a v-neck, oversized, and it's knit on 6mm needles. So I think that it checked off everything that I wanted for this v-neck oversized, and so I'm just really happy to be test knitting it. It is really the way that she advertises it is just like a basic oversized v-neck but with a twist, and that twist is a horizontal braid that goes across the collar, the body, and the sleeve cuffs. And it's very hard to see on this yarn, and it pretty much blends in on the front part of the collar just because of the shaping, but you can really see the detail here on the back. If you guys can see, there's like a horizontal braid going by on that, and maybe easier on the body to show you guys, but yeah, you guys can see there's a horizontal braid going along the body as well, and it'll go across the cuff. And yeah, as of right now, I'm actually in the middle of binding. Okay, so, oh no, okay, whew. Crisis averted. I accidentally rolled over my yarn with my chair, and so I was scared that the yarn had got caught in the wheel, which mohair and a chair wheel, not fun. I've had to detangle it out of my chair wheel like 3 times because I kept rolling over it on accident. But I am currently in the middle of, quite literally the middle, like I've done half of my Italian bind off. Yeah, I'm currently doing my Italian bind off for the body. And after I do the Italian bind off, this sweater will also be on hold for sleeves. Now, this one is like not my fault, but kind of is my fault, but like not really my fault because I'm out of yarn. And first off, let me just talk to you guys about the yarn. So the main like kind of color is this Cascade 220, and this is in the color 9429, which is Mossy Rock. And then I am using Drops Kid Silk in the color 19, which is dark green. And this pattern calls for you to hold one fingering weight and two mohairs together to hit gauge. And these are my last 2 balls of mohair. The pattern calls for my size to have 350 grams of the mohair, and I only had 300 grams of mohair. But I was hoping that the pattern maybe like overcompensated. I've noticed that a lot of patterns will tell you need 800 grams, for example, and you'll only really need like 700 or 750. So I was hoping that this pattern was the same thing, that it was going to like overshoot. And so first applying for the test knit, and I already knew I was going to use the yarn from Stash. I already knew that I didn't have enough yarn for it, enough mohair for it, and so I just hoped that, you know, it would come out that I would have enough yarn and that it would just be enough. But now that I've finished the body and I'm looking at how much yarn I have left, I'm realizing that I don't think I'm going to have enough yarn, and so I'm going to go through and order 2 more balls of the mohair, but I'm just not sure that if I'll be able to get the same the same dye lot, and I also am not sure if it'll be a similar color because, you know, varying from dye lot to dye lot, it can be a difference. And I ordered this back in February. So my idea with stopping at the body, because I'm pretty sure I have enough kid silk to do at least 1 sleeve, but I don't want to order more yarn and the dye lot be vastly different. It could be the same, or it could like not have that much of a difference and you can't tell, but I just don't want to take that risk, especially on the test knit, because I do want it to look nice. Plus I really like this color. I really like the style, the design, the fit of it, and so I want this to be nice. So my idea is to order 2 more skeins of the kid silk, or 2 more balls of the kid silk, and to do 1 old ball and 1 of the new balls together for 1 sleeve, and the other old ball and the other new skein with the sleeve, so at least it has some of the same color in it, so that hopefully it helps the entire both sleeves like match, 1, and 2, it'll match more with the body of the sweater. Now I could be overthinking this. I could come, the yarn could come and it could be no difference at all, and or maybe even get the same dye lot. We'll see. Probably not, but maybe, you know, and everything will work out. But I'd rather be cautious than careless and have a sweater with 2 different colored sleeves. But I'm gonna go ahead and try this on so you guys can see what it looks like. It always looks so funny without sleeves, I look like I have on a big old poncho. I actually watched The Emperor's New Groove like 2 days ago, and so when I was like trying this on, I was looking at myself and I was like, I look like a poncho with this green tunic on. But let me back up so you guys can see. Okay, so here she is. Yeah, here she is. Here's my v-neck, looking good. And for this to be my second time doing a v-neck, I feel like I've done a great job on it, although I'm sure that the mohair fluffiness, as you guys can tell, there's such a huge halo on this because I'm holding two strands of kid silk together. There's such a huge halo on it, and so it is hiding a lot of mistakes, I'm sure, but yeah, I really love it. I think it looks really nice, and I don't know, I haven't really ever been a green person, but I really could see myself like really diving into green just because it looks really nice, and I think that it'll be a really nice transitional piece for the fall one because it is on a loose gauge. So this is a very light sweater. So I feel like on some of those like maybe cooler windy days in the fall, if we have some this year, that it'll be really nice. And yeah, I feel like the sweater probably is not going to take that long to make just because once I get the yarn for the sleeves, the drop shoulder comes down pretty deep. It comes almost down to my elbow, like my elbow crease. So I think that like the sleeves will pretty much fly off the needles, especially like I said, it is done on 6mm needles, so I think that it will fly by. But I just have to wait on the yarn for this, so the yarn will probably, the project will probably be on hold once I finish this Italian bite off. It'll probably be on hold for the next week or two while I wait for my yarn to come in. This test knit started last week Friday, so I've literally been working on this for 1 week and 1 day, so it is a very fast knit. It's not due until August 19th, and I'm already to the sleeves. There's a lot of girls in our test knit who are finished with the body and on their sleeves or very close to being done and starting on sleeves. So this is not a hard knit or a slow knit. The pattern is written very well. No mistakes on it at all really. And yeah, so I am excited to knit on that. While I wait on the yarn for that to come in, I'll probably go through and do more progress on the Holger sweater. And I don't know, I feel like I need to set myself a goal for myself, just to like motivate me and keep me going on some of these whips. So I think maybe I'll try to have the Holger finished, as well as have the glitch finished before the yarn comes in. So maybe I will dedicate my time to working on that while I wait for my yarn to come in. So that concludes all of my whips and my residency here on Sleeve Continent. Okay, and the last thing that we're going to go over, if you will focus. Okay, and the last thing we're going to go over is acquisitions, which I am super excited about because I got some new yarns that I wanted to try. And I made an order from Wool Warehouse. I get most of my yarn from Wool Warehouse because they always have sales on drops, and I use a lot of drops. So I got some Wool Warehouse order, and I'm really happy because I needed a smaller project bag. I didn't have any, and I was gonna buy one from the store, but then like I feel like this is the perfect size to lug around like my kid's sweater in. So yeah, big ups to Wool Warehouse for these organza bags. But all of my acquisitions are drops, and I just wanted to try out some different yarn from them. And this is a yarn that I have heard some mixed reviews about, which I am now nervous about. But I needed to get my hands on it, and that is, I dropped it. That is the Drops Daisy. I've been super excited to try the Drops Daisy since it came out. I remember it like swept the knitting community by storm. Everyone was like, Drops Daisy, Drops Daisy, Drops Daisy, and like everyone got it. Not everyone, but a lot of people got it. A lot of people tried it, and I heard so many good reviews about, you know, them loving it. It was so soft, and I agree. Like, it is very, very soft. It is 100% wool, but it's extra fine merino wool, and like it is very, very soft. And I got 5 balls of this in the color 24, also known as Cobalt Blue, and I think it'll be really pretty. Honestly, I kind of feel like maybe I should get something with blue in it, but this is actually for my son. All of these yarns are for my son. Like I said, I'm trying to build his sweater what was I about to say? I don't know. I want to build his sweater collection. Let's just say that. Sweater collection. And so I bought some Drops Daisy, although now I'm very nervous to knit with this because before ordering it, I heard really good reviews about it, about people loving it. It's so soft. And I was like, cool, perfect, great. And then yesterday I was watching a knitting podcast, and someone was talking about the Drops Daisy and how they loved it and it was so soft, and that they held it with the mohair, and you know, it was beautiful, and that they were excited to use it by itself. And I was like, me too. But then she said that she's scared to use it by itself because people say that when you use it by itself, it pills a lot. And I was like, where were these reviews when I was looking at them? Because nobody told me that. Nobody said that to me. So now I'm a little bit nervous because I want to potentially use Drops Daisy for one of like a sweater for me, and I figured that if, you know, Drops Daisy held up to my 5-year-old, that it'll definitely hold up for me. And you know, getting 5 balls for a kid sweater, I'm able to, like, you know, try it out and see how it works up without having to commit to like a full adult size sweater. But like now I'm nervous. I'm like, if this pills a lot and this is going against a 5-year-old, like, am I gonna waste my time knitting him a sweater? But I don't know. I have them now, so I'm gonna try them out, but we'll see. If you have any experience with Drops Daisy and you have any experience with it pilling or not pilling, holding it by itself, please let me know, because I would love to figure that out before I go into knitting a little sweater with it. So yeah, I did buy that. I also bought 5 balls of the black Drops Daisy in the color 03, and I bought this because I thought my son looks so cute in blue, so I was gonna make him a blue one and also a black one. And again, I've never knit with black yarn. People say that, you know, it's kind of hard to read stitches, you know, and you know, there's like, you know, a stigma behind working with black yarn. Hair in my mouth. There's like a stigma with working with black yarn, and that's kind of difficult because, you know, you can't really see. So I again decided that it would probably be smart for me to dip my toes in knitting with black yarn by making a kid sweater with it. So I did buy some black as well, and then I did buy, lastly, some more Drops Lima. And I bought 4 balls of Drops Lima. I bought 2 white, a red, and a yellow. This is the 2923 in goldenrod. This is the color 3609, which is red, and then this is 1101, which is the white. And I bought these because I want to do some color work on his sweater, but I really don't know if I am prepared to do like a color work motif on the sweater yet, just because I am not experienced in color work yet. I mean, I've done my stripes, but I actually haven't done like an actual pattern in color work. So what I think I'm going to do is just do duplicate stitch, because I have done duplicate stitch before, but I've used it to like fix a weird looking stitch on the body of one of my sweaters, but I haven't actually done like a design in duplicate stitch. So I just bought one of each color. I bought two of the white with some lettering, but I bought just one skein of each just to use as yarn to do the duplicate stitch, just to learn it, to see if I like it. And also, again, I'm doing it on a kid's sweater, so I feel like, you know, it's a lot less like risk, a lot lower stakes as far as like the outcome of it. And I bought Drops Lima instead of Drops Daisy for the color work for the Daisy sweaters, just because the Lima was cheaper. It was like $2 cheaper to buy the Lima than the Daisy, and I just felt that for something that I'm like just learning and practicing on, I did not care to use the same yarn, and that it was cheaper just to use Lima. So that is that. I feel like I've been talking forever because I have. I'm pretty sure this has been an hour and a half, which is crazy because starting out I was like, it's gonna be a short podcast, I'm not gonna really have that much to talk about, but I found a way to talk. So hopefully everything makes sense and I didn't ramble too much and everything was concise, as concise as it could be. But yeah, that is all of my acquisitions. It will now go on my yarn shelf, and yeah, that is pretty much all that I have for today's video. Thank you guys so much for joining back into the podcast, for tuning back into the channel, for allowing me a reset and a fresh start. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If there's any patterns that you have questions about, if there's any tips or tricks that you might have, and anything that I may have mentioned that I didn't give enough information about, definitely let me know any of those down below. And yeah, that is pretty much it. And I'm calling it a wrap on this start over episode. So yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day and have some happy knitting. Bye.